These are some of the strongest fighters in the entire world government. Each of them possesses incredible physical strength and power that allows the government to rule over the entire One Piece world. All of the government forces are split into 4 organizations, and today we'll be explaining and ranking the strongest fighters in each of these groups. Also at the end of the video, we'll reveal who the absolutely strongest world government fighter is. And where better to start than with the newly introduced Seraphims. You see, the 7 warlords of the sea were the pirates that allied with the world government in exchange for immunity. However, during the Lovely arc, this group was disbanded and isn't under the government's orders anymore. Instead, they've been replaced with Seraphims, special pacifista cyborgs created by Dr. Vegapunk. These cyborgs are modeled after the 7 original warlords and can also use their devil fruit powers. Even the Seraphims modeled after the warlords with no devil fruits, such as Jinbei or Mihawk, got a devil fruit power from previously imprisoned pirates, with S-Hawk getting Mr. 1 Super Super no Mi, and S-Shark getting Senor Pink's Sui Sui no Mi. On top of that, they also have some of Lunarian's DNA, granting them wings and accelerated growth. So how strong are these guys? Well, from what we've seen so far in the show, they look at least as strong as their warlord counterparts and are much easier to control than warlords, as they'll follow any order without a question. But the craziest thing is that they're all still just children, and when they grow up, they might even surpass the originals. Now, we don't have that much information about each of the Seraphim's individual strengths, but considering they were modeled after the warlords, it would make sense to rank them according to that. This would make S-Hawk, Mihawk's clone, the strongest Seraphim, which makes sense when you remember that he was strong enough to scare Blackbeard and later took combined hits from Lucci and Luffy without taking any serious damage. Okay, S-Hawk easily takes the first spot among Seraphims, but is there anyone stronger than him in the government's next organization? The CP0. CP0 is the strongest intelligence agency among Cypherpol, working directly under world nobles, kind of like the FBI or CIA in the real world. Although many members of this group are unknown, we do know that all former CP9 agents are currently a part of the CP0. Every member of this agency can use all 6 forms of Rokushiki, superhuman martial arts that allow the user to strengthen their body, move super fast, or run midair. Khalifa, Fukuro, Kumadori, Bluno, and Jabra are considered to be the weaker fighters of this group, and we didn't see much of them after they lost against the Straw Hats at Enies Lobby. However, CP0's main force consists of top-tier fighters that can give even the strongest pirates a tough time. First is Guernica, one of the world government's finest assassins. During the battle on Onigashima, he was able to stop one of Luffy's strongest attacks and ensure that Kaido would win, all while having a hole in his body from a previous battle. The next one is Stussy, the first successful clone created by the science group Mads based on Buckingham Stussy, a former member of the Rocks Pirates. She has the same strength and power as the original Stussy and also has the ability to suck blood from people by biting into their skin, similar to a vampire. But CP0 has 2 more members that are even stronger than her, and one of them is Giraffe Human Kaku. Kaku got much stronger since we last saw him during Enies Lobby. He learned hockey and even managed to awaken his devil fruit. On the Egghead, he finally got his rematch against Zoro, and although the battle was cut short, he proved capable of holding his own against him, at least for a short time. Still, not even Kaku is the strongest CP0 member, as that title goes to Rob Lucci. Lucci started his training to become a Cypherpol assassin when he was only 6 years old, and it was immediately evident that he was on a completely different level compared to everyone else. When he was 13, Lucci was sent to deal with a hostage situation where pirates captured 500 soldiers. During the mission, he killed the entire pirate crew and all 500 hostages all by himself. At some point in his life, Lucci ate the Neko Neko no Mi, model Leopard, and joined the CP9 as the strongest member the agency had ever had. After Lucci's loss against Luffy during the Enies Lobby, he was kicked out of Cypherpol but eventually reinstated as a member of CP0. Same as Kaku, he also awakened his Zoan Devil Fruit and became much stronger since the last time we saw him. Currently on Egghead, Lucci is fighting on equal footing against Zoro, which is no small feat and easily makes him the strongest Cypherpol agent so far in the series. With the CP0 covered, there are still 2 government organizations that hold immense power throughout the One Piece world, and the final one may just be the strongest of them all. But before we cover that one, let's first cover the biggest one, the Marines. Although big in numbers, the Marines are full of weak men, with only vice admirals and above being noteworthy. The lower ranks like captains and commanders don't even know hockey and couldn't hope to compete with some of the characters we'll talk about in a minute. This is why we'll put all lower ranking Marines in F tier and vice admirals in E tier. Now, although the E tier includes the big majority of Vice Admirals, it doesn't include all of them, because some are simply on a completely different level. And one of those is Tsuru, who has possibly the weirdest Devil Fruit ability in the entire show. Tsuru was one of the legendary Marines of Roger's era. We know that she was actively trying to capture Doflamingo back in the day, with Doflamingo being terrified of her and always running away instead of facing her head-on. Tsuru was also shown to be very knowledgeable and well-informed, being the only one who knew the feat in his background when he entered the Warlord's meeting. Even though she's been a Marine for 56 years and we were introduced to her all the way back in chapter 234, we don't really know anything else about her. Heck, we don't even know what her Devil Fruit does. It's called Woshu Woshu no Mi, and apparently allows her to wash and dry her enemies like clothes. Tsuru can also wash evil out of her enemies using this Devil Fruit, which has gotta be one of the weirdest Devil Fruit abilities in the One Piece. But let's continue the list with another legendary Marine the fans are dying to learn more about. Kong. Before he got a promotion, Kong was the fleet admiral during Roger's time, meaning he must be one of the world government's strongest fighters. So what does this guy currently do? Well, Kong is now the world government's commander-in-chief, which gives him authority over all the Marines, cipher pulls, and even warlords while they were still a thing. Since both positions Kong was assigned to were pretty much desk jobs, we unfortunately never get to see him fight. However, considering his important position and mighty appearance, he has to be super strong, and I have a feeling he'll be showing us his real strength sometime in the final saga. For now, C tier is a fitting place for him. And we can't talk about the Marine legends of the previous generation without mentioning the former Fleet Admiral Sengoku. Sengoku joined the Marines when he was 23. From there, he slowly climbed the ranks, becoming an Admiral, then the Fleet Admiral, and finally Inspector General. During this time, he also raised 2 pirates in secret, Rocinante, who later joined Don Quixote Pirates as a spy, and ex-Drake, who became a member of the Sword. At some point in his life, he acquired and ate the Hito Hito no Mi, model Daibutsu, a mythical Zoan Devil Fruit that allows him to turn into a giant golden Buddha. During his prime around 30 years ago, Sengoku was considered one of the strongest Marines, often clashing with One Piece legends like Roger and Whitebeard. When Shiki attacked Marineford 26 years ago, Sengoku, along with Garp, fought against him in a battle that destroyed half of the island. Imagine the damage of the Summit War, but caused only by 3 people. Yeah, this dude was insane. Despite being incredibly powerful, Sengoku is also an excellent tactician. In fact, he was the one in charge of deployment positions of all the Marines during the Summit War, and he even made a dirty plan to have the pacifistas avoid attacking the Whitebeard's main crew in order for it to look like Whitebeard sold out all his allies. When Blackbeard showed up to the party, we got to see that even years later, Sengoku was still a very capable fighter, injuring Blackbeard's entire crew with a single blow. However, even with all that power, Sengoku is not even in the top 5 of the strongest Marine fighters, and of those stronger than him is Admiral Green Bull. Sometime after the time skip, Green Bull participated in the World Military Draft, where he was appointed as one of the new admirals due to his strength and power. This power mostly comes from his incredible Logia Devil Fruit, Mori Mori no Mi, which allows him to turn into any type of plant life. Green Bull's biggest idol is the Fleet Admiral Sakazuki, and while he respects him a lot, he never seems to listen to him. For example, when Sakazuki ordered him to stay away from Wano, he immediately went to Wano to prove himself. And when he was ordered to kick Fujitora off Mary Joa, he instead had a friendly chat with him. Someone's getting fired soon. However, despite acting like a child when it comes to orders, Green Bull is actually a phenomenal fighter. He proved this when he effortlessly defeated all the remaining Beast Pirates in minutes and would surely defeat Yamato and Momonosuke if their battle wasn't interrupted. After he got humiliated by Shanks, many fans have been clowning on Green Bull, calling him a fraud, but come on, let's be real here. Shanks would make absolutely anyone look pathetic, so we shouldn't judge Green Bull too harshly. Fujitora is another admiral who joined the Marines during the time skip after proving himself in the World Military Draft, and he is without a doubt a complete opposite of all the other current admirals. The first thing you'll notice about Fujitora is that he is blind, but you may be surprised to find out that this isn't an injury he suffered on the battlefield. You see, after seeing so much evil in the world, Fujitora actually blinded himself because he couldn't stand looking at evil anymore. However, due to Fujitora being incredibly skilled in using observation haki, this disability doesn't seem to impact his fighting in any way, as he can still hold his own against powerful opponents. In addition to his haki mastery, Fujitora also has an incredible devil fruit called Zushi Zushi no Mi, which allows him to control gravity. Using it, Fujitora can pin his opponents to the ground, repel incoming attacks, and even bring down meteors from space. The interesting thing is that this makes Fujitora the only non-Logia admiral in the series, but that's not the only way he's different from the rest of them. You see, Fujitora doesn't believe that all the Marines are good and that all pirates are evil. Instead, he always does what he thinks is right, which led him to pissing off Sakazuki more than once. Man, he and Green Bull are basically competing to see who will get fired first. Since his introduction, Fujitora participated in many fights. He briefly fought against Law, Doflamingo, Sabo, Zoro, Luffy, and even against Green Bull when they had a disagreement. However, none of these were serious all-out fights, meaning Fujitora's true strength is still unknown. Admiral Kizaru. Kizaru may seem very relaxed and laid back most of the time, but he may actually be one of the most serious Marines in the Navy. I mean, I doubt many others would stay quiet when ordered to kill their good friend like Kizaru did. But let's start from the beginning. Kizaru was originally introduced in chapter 506, and he had one of the most badass entrances in the entire series. First, he casually rode on top of a cannonball and then effortlessly defeated 4 supernovas whose combined bounty was 777 million berries. Even when the Dark King Rayleigh jumped in to stop Kizaru, he couldn't really do anything but briefly stall the Admiral. The reason Kizaru is so strong is mostly due to his absurdly powerful devil fruit, Pika Pika no Mi, which allows him to turn into and control light. In addition to standard Logia abilities, Kizaru can pretty much travel at light speed, teleport to any desired location, or even blind his enemies. As far as we know, in his 32 years of being a Marine, Kizaru has never taken a hit that seriously damaged him. However, this recently changed during the Egghead arc, when he finally clashed with Luffy and pretty much got paralyzed by Luffy's punch. During this arc, Kizaru also showed how seriously he takes his Marine duties when he agreed to kill Dr. Vegapunk, his old friend whom he had known for many years. This incredible loyalty towards the Marines, coupled with his immense power, makes Kizaru worthy of the A tier. But we can't talk about the Admirals without mentioning a guy whose strength is easily on par with theirs. The hero of the Marines, Garp. Garp joined the Marines at the age of 22 and quickly ascended through the ranks due to his incredible physical strength, eventually becoming the Vice Admiral. During his prime, Garp was widely recognized as one of the strongest fighters of his time, being the #1 rival of the Pirate King and almost catching him quite a few times. However, what really made Garp famous was the God Valley incident, where he teamed up with Roger in order to take down Rocksteady Zebek, a famous pirate who wanted to conquer the world. After that, Garp gained the epithet Hero of the Marines and became somewhat of a symbol around the world. Now you may be wondering, if Garp was really that famous and powerful, why did he never become an admiral? Well, you see, Garp was actually offered this position on multiple occasions but instantly refused each time. This is because the admirals are under the direct control of the world nobles, or as Garp calls them, scumbags, and have to protect them whenever they're in danger. This obviously wasn't something Garp wanted to do, so he just continued being the Vice Admiral and pretty much did whatever the hell he wanted. This carefree attitude is what eventually got him in big trouble in the recent chapters when he decided to attack Blackbeard's base of operations in order to save Kobe. Although he eventually succeeded and put up a great fight against former Admiral Aokiji, he was eventually injured and defeated by the combined efforts of Blackbeard's crew. For now, Garp is declared missing in action. The Fleet Admiral Sakazuki. Due to something that happened in his past, Sakazuki started believing in absolute justice, which pretty much means that he believes that evil should be eradicated from the world at any cost, even if it involves innocent deaths or immoral acts. With this belief, Sakazuki joined the Marines 32 years ago and quickly became one of the world government's favorites due to his absolute loyalty. At some point in his life, Sakazuki ate the Magu Magu no Mi, a Logia-type devil fruit that allows him to transform into magma. This is undoubtedly one of the strongest devil fruits in the entire series, and when coupled with Sakazuki's immense strength, it's easy to see why he's so feared and respected around the world. Due to his feats, Sakazuki was eventually promoted to the rank of Admiral and got the nickname Akahinu, which literally translates to Red Dog. This is a pretty fitting nickname for him considering he's pretty much a world government's dog who does their bidding for them. However, it's important to mention that he does oppose the government's views sometimes and is not afraid to even insult them, but he always ends up following the orders in the end. The best showcase of Sakazuki's strength as an admiral was during the Summit War, where he gravely injured Whitebeard and easily overpowered many strong fighters such as Jinbei and Ace. When the former Fleet Admiral Sengoku declared that he would be retiring from his position and recommended Aokiji as his successor, the world government was quick to act and recommend Akainu instead. This led to a fierce battle between the two admirals that lasted for 10 full days, with Sakazuki eventually emerging victorious. Although getting promoted was what he wanted, he does seem a bit regretful about it, as all he does now is sit at his desk and give orders instead of going out to fight pirates himself. Hopefully this will soon change, as I can't wait to see him in action again. Okay, it's pretty obvious that Sakazuki is currently the strongest marine officer in the story, but there's still one more organization left to cover with characters that are possibly even stronger than him. Marijoa Fighters. This obviously isn't the organization's real name, but I needed to somehow separate fighters that live on the Holy Land Marijoa and aren't the members of any group we've covered so far. The first characters in this group are recently introduced God's Knights, who are the guards of the Holy Land. From what we've seen so far, they seem to be way more important than the Marines, and it looks like they even have authority over normal celestial dragons. This is absolutely insane, as even the Fleet Admiral has absolutely no control over the world nobles and often has to endure their insults. The one in charge of the God's Knights is Saint Figerland Garling, who happens to be a celestial dragon himself, which could also be the case for all of the other knights, although we can't know for sure. The true strength of the God's Knights is currently unknown, but looking at Dragon's reaction when he mentioned them, they seem to be an incredibly powerful group of fighters. So at this point, you may be wondering, what do these characters actually do? Don't the admirals in the Navy already protect the celestial dragons? Well, yes, but think of the God's Knights as the law enforcers of the Holy Land, pretty much acting as the police for the celestial dragons. For example, we've seen that Figerland has the power to judge and, if needed, kill other celestial dragons if they break the rules. Although we don't know much about the God's Knights, we know that the majority of them were present at God Valley 38 years ago, and when Roger attacked the island, they quickly assembled to fight him, proving just how much confidence they have in their abilities. We obviously can't separately rank God's Knights as we still don't know enough about them, so I'll put them all in B tier. Why only B tier? Well, it'll be pretty obvious once you see how strong the other Marijoa fighters are. The Five Elders. The Five Elders are 5 celestial dragons who have the highest authority in the entire One Piece world. This means that they have the power of Cypher Poles, the Marines, the Seraphims, and most likely the God's Knights as well. Many people are completely unaware of their existence, which isn't that surprising considering they rarely leave their room in the Pangaea Castle. The interesting thing about them is that in all the flashbacks they've appeared in, they look exactly the same, which led many people to believe that they're actually immortal and have been alive for a long time. The most popular theory so far is that they achieved this by using Ope Ope no Mi, a devil fruit that's known to have the power to grant someone eternal life. Since the very beginning of the show, the Elders were thought to be just politicians without any fight in them. But that proved to be completely false during recent chapters when all Elders transformed into demonic creatures in order to attack Sabo. Although we don't know anything else about the majority of the Elders, we did actually learn about Saint Saturn on Egghead Island, and we even got to fully see his demonic form. When transformed, Saturn looks like a gigantic spider-like creature with horns, resembling one of the yokai from Japanese mythology. In this form, Saturn can project some kind of invisible force. When invoking this power, his eyes start to glow and Saturn can injure people with a mere look. Unfortunately, we still don't have enough information to accurately judge Saturn's strength. But based on what we've seen so far, and considering that these guys are supposed to be one of the show's main antagonists, Saturn and his fellow Elders must be incredibly powerful, putting them in A tier. However, there's one character in the world government who holds even more power than the 5 Elders, and that's the secret ruler of the world, Imu. Imu is one of the biggest mysteries in the show right now, and nobody is allowed to know of their existence except for the 5 Elders. Although not confirmed, Imu is suspected to be one of the original 20 creators of the world government who lived 800 years ago and has somehow survived to this day. In addition to controlling the 5 Elders and the whole world government, Imu holds the power to make the whole islands disappear without a trace. Whether it's some kind of devil fruit power he uses to do this or just a weapon remains to be seen. Now, if this Imu is the same Imu from the Void Century 800 years ago, it must mean that they also had an immortality operation done on them with the Ope Ope no Mi, similar to the 5 Elders. Although we've only seen Imu a couple of times in the show, they seem to be particularly interested in Luffy, Blackbeard, Shirahoshi, and Vivi, but we have no idea what connects those 4 specifically. As we already said, Imu's existence is top secret, and everyone who finds out about him will be immediately executed. This is exactly what happened to King Cobra, as the 5 Elders told him the moment he saw Imu, his fate was sealed. But same as all other characters on this list, Imu is not just a politician or a figurehead. He's also seemingly a devil fruit user who can transform into a huge shadowy monster. In this form, Emu was shown capable of controlling some kind of sharp, shadowy arrows that can easily penetrate even Logia users like Sabo. Besides this, not much is known about Emu's abilities. But considering how they will most likely be the last obstacle on the Straw Hat's journey, I think we can all agree that Emu goes into the S tier and takes the top spot as the world government's strongest fighter. Since you obviously like power scaling, you can click on this video next, where we rank the top 15 strongest swordsmen in One Piece.